Continuity and Doctor Who are two things that don't always go hand in hand. I mean, come on, you're going to have some errors after 50 plus years on the air.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
But one of the best things about New Who is the keen eye of the show's creators to keep the timey-wimey web of plots and elements in order over decades of story. These successes in continuity are riddled throughout Who, and often lead to jaw-dropping, brain-melting, oh, I see what you did there, payoffs for us viewers. So, from missing planets to the Time War itself, here are 8 times Doctor Who absolutely nailed continuity.
Oh, you sexy thing.
But you know what's even sexier? Hitting that subscribe button and turning on your notifications. You're not gonna wanna miss any of our videos like this on CinemaBlend, so don't. It's that easy.
Okay, kid. This is where it gets complicated.
Of course, we gotta start with the story arc that started it all, Bad Wolf. The continuity success of Series 1 is what set the ball rolling for the rest of the show, and its blatant yet subtle nature actually inspired some of the creators down the line. From graffiti to posters to TV broadcast stations bearing the name, it's littered throughout the first series with the 9th Doctor and his companion, Rose Tyler.
The things you've seen, the darkness, the big bad wolf.
Each reference means nothing in particular as we see them, and it isn't until one of the last episodes of the series that even the Doctor notices he's seen the words before.
Everywhere we go, 2 words, following us.
Then, in the finale, after being sent away from a ship full of murderous Daleks in the TARDIS, Rose sees Bad Wolf once again and realizes it's a message. She and the Doctor have been led from one stop to the next by Bad Wolf, and she can't give up now. So, being unable to fly the TARDIS without the Doctor, she looks into the heart of the machine and becomes possessed by the energy that powers it. That not only allowed her to take the wheel, but transformed her into the Bad Wolf entity, which used its godlike powers to scatter the Bad Wolf message throughout space and time. Thus, she and the Doctor's past selves then encounter it again and again, leading her to this moment where she could fly the TARDIS back to the Doctor and absolutely obliterate the Daleks. Talk about a self-fulfilling prophecy. It was referenced several more times later in the show, once even to serve its original purpose, to warn the 10th Doctor and his new companion Donna of an upcoming attack by the Daleks. So yeah, as far as continuity goes, I'd call this one a huge success. Up next, the Time War, which was introduced when the show relaunched in 2005. The Time War, as you probably know, is an insane, world-ending war between Time Lords and Daleks that former showrunner Russell T Davies inserted into the plot of the new series as a way to provide backstory for new Doctor Who fans without having to explain the decades of show that came before it. So if something didn't quite add up between the old series and the new, oh, that's because the Time War happened and messed with time and space. Oops. It was a brilliant fill for any continuity gaps, but that's not what made it a success in our books. The best part of the Time War is that we actually saw it start during the old series, according to Davies. Davies pointed to the 1977 episode where the 4th Doctor was sent back in time by the Time Lords to destroy the Daleks in the exact moment they were created. That, he said, was the catalyst of the Time War. Then there's the time the 7th Doctor tricked the Daleks into destroying their home planet, Skaro. Big reason to start a time-jumping, space-altering war, if I do say so myself, and a solid use of continuity on Davies' part. The Series 3 arc of Harold Saxon led to one of the greatest reveals in Doctor Who so far without being too terribly complicated. Throughout the series, we don't actually know who this Harold Saxon is, only that he's got a lot of support in his political career, though no one actually knows what he stands for. We hear his name in passing as a politician on the rise from current companion Martha and Martha's mother. Martha later mentions planning to vote for him for Prime Minister, and he does indeed eventually become the Prime Minister of Great Britain. We also know he launched the Archangel Network, 15 satellites that serve as a phone network and defense communications system on Earth. Well, in the series' 3-part finale, upon a return to Earth after being stranded at the end of the universe, the year 100 trillion, by his arch nemesis, the Master, the Doctor then sees this message from the newly elected Prime Minister.
But what this country really needs, right now, is a doctor.
Well, it didn't take long after that for the Doctor to figure out that Harold Saxon is in fact the freaking Master as he starts trying to take over the world from his new position of power. The Archangel Network was actually a mind control system that brainwashed humanity into believing Harold Saxon's fake backstory as a person and convinced them to vote him into office while knowing absolutely nothing about his platform. So, while his arc wasn't a terribly complicated one, the payoff definitely makes it rank as a solid success of continuity in the show. Series 4 is not only home to my favorite companion of all time, the one and only Donna Noble, but also a great story arc that heavily relied on continuity and freaking nailed it. Throughout the series, we heard mentions of several different things. First, the Medusa Cascade, which was mentioned offhandedly a few times throughout the series. Fans of the older Who know it's a region of space where the Doctor once closed a rift in time, but we'll get back to that. Then there's the disappearance of planets, which we see happen to the Adipose and the Pyroviles, both of whom try to make the Earth their new home, unsuccessfully thanks to the Doctor and the noteworthy time and space law enforcement, the Shadow Proclamation. Finally, Donna repeatedly mentions throughout the series that the bees have been disappearing from Earth, which doesn't seem significant until Earth itself disappears along with them.
The bees disappearing. The bees disappearing!
Well, in the two-part finale of the series, the Doctor revisits the Shadow Proclamation to obtain their help to figure out where Earth went. We then discover all those planets that went missing were stolen by the same enemy, the Daleks. Oh, and where did the Daleks put them? The Medusa Cascade. Finally, well, apparently bees are aliens, and they knew trouble was coming, so they returned to their home planet instead of sticking around Earth.
The world is very strange.
Beyond concluding an epic arc of successful continuity, the Series 4 finale also brought together a few characters that meant more than casual fans could have known. Most importantly, Miss Sarah Jane Smith. Sarah Jane was the third and fourth Doctor's companion, and one of the longest-running companions on the show to date. Sarah, who had encountered the invading Daleks before, volunteered to help the Doctor as they struck yet again. However, the big moment came when the Doctor and his companion came face-to-face with the Supreme Dalek himself, Davros. Not only had Davros been around since the creation of the Daleks hundreds of years earlier, which we saw in the 1977 serial The Genesis of the Daleks, but so had Sarah Jane during her travels with the Doctor. Then, cue the moment that put decades of Doctor Who into incredible perspective.
Impossible. That face. After all these years.
So yeah, it's pretty easy to understand how this moment of continuity was incredibly powerful for longtime fans of the show. And then there's the fan favorite River song.
Hello, sweetie.
There are several continuity wins we could talk about with River, but I don't have hours to blow your mind 7 ways sideways. I am, however, gonna talk about the biggest success in the continuity the show had with River, and that's the backwards way she and the Doctor encountered each other throughout the show. The Series 4 episode, The Silence in the Library, was the first time the Doctor met River, and it also happened to be the last time she'd ever see him while alive. And so it continued from there. Each time the Doctor saw River again, he approached the last time he'd ever see her, but the first time she'd ever see him. Plus, River had an entire diary full of encounters she'd had with the Doctor, and you bet your sonic screwdriver the show worked in every moment she mentioned.
Crash of the Byzantium. Have we done that yet? I've seen whole armies turn and run away. The last time I saw you, you turned up on my doorstep with a new haircut and a suit. You took me to Beryllium to see the Singing Towers.
The Doctor and River story was entirely about maintaining continuity, and, of course, making sure the Doctor didn't get ahead of himself wondering about his own future.
Spoilers.
From the beginning of Eleven's run as the Doctor, we saw these very intense cracks, which turn out to be cracks in the fabric of space and time themselves. The cracks provided for all kinds of crazy adventures, as they could connect worlds together, allowing monsters to wreak havoc or wrought havoc on themselves. You see, the most interesting part of the cracks is their ability to completely erase things from time. From people such as Amy Pond's parents and husband to monumental alien encounters in Earth's history. You see, if the cracks were large enough or the right people came into contact with them, it could erase that person from time and space and any memory of them. So, in the end, only time travelers would remember them and what they did. Thus, the show's creators could refresh the world so that the people on Earth had no memory of the giant Dalek invasion of 2009 or the Cyber King just going for a stroll over Victorian London, both of which were definitely memorable events in the Earth's history. Through the cracks, we went on some of the wildest adventures with the Doctor yet, introducing increasingly complicated plot threads thanks to the opportunities provided by the cracks, and the show was able to seal any continuity errors away in the cracks themselves. Finally, we have the Impossible Girl, aka Clara Oswald, who managed to encounter the Doctor and die helping him twice before he found her in the present day. Bear with me here, she first encountered the Doctor as Souffle Girl, aka Oswin, in the Series 7 episode Asylum of the Daleks. She helped the Doctor and his companions at the time, Rory and Amy, escape a Dalek asylum as a patient of the asylum with an odd amount of control over the place. Well, we later found out she was actually a Dalek possessed with Oswin's consciousness, and died as she helped the Doctor and his companions escape.
You're a new clever boy. And remember,
Later, the Doctor encountered her again as a barmaid and governess named Clara in the Snowman Christmas special, where she helps him destroy an enemy named the Great Intelligence, but loses her life in the process.
Run, you clever boy. And remember.
While visiting her grave, the Doctor discovers her full name is Clara Oswin Oswald. Finally, he finds the present-day Clara Oswald in The Bells of St. John, after which she becomes his companion. She travels with him for a while, but then comes the Series 7 episode, The Name of the Doctor, where we finally get answers as to why we keep running into her throughout space and time. The Great Intelligence appears again, and at the Doctor's grave on Trenzalore, inserts itself into the Doctor's timeline to turn all of his successes into defeats. Clara too enters the timeline to stop it, but in the process is shattered across the Doctor's timeline, thus becoming the impossible girl we saw before her first true meeting with the Doctor, and each version has had one goal: to help the Doctor. In fact, in this episode, we see that she even made it all the way back to the first incarnation of the Doctor ever, telling him which TARDIS to steal to start his millennium of adventures and travels across the universe.
See what you did there?
Boom! Continuity, baby! They can't all be winners, but man, did they nail it with these 8. Let me know which one is your favorite in the comments, or better yet, if you have any issues with the ones I picked out. In the meantime, don't just fly off, hit subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the craziness we put out on the daily here at CinemaBlend.